listening to Jesus Christ. That's funny. My name is Ethan Moore.
And mine is Pastor Dwayne Black.
Pastor Dwayne Black. Good to see you, man.
Nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I just got back from California.
That sounds... What were you doing in California?
I was coming out of the closet.
Well, that's what they thought about down here. They
I
said,
know.
oh, it's so good that he came out.
I was out there doing some comedy. Is
that what they call that now?
I was in San Francisco.
Oh, no, you need to say no more.
Or I'm considered like the straightest man in San Francisco, by the way. You know, I'm like just a bro. I come out here and everyone calls me gay. But I was in LA also doing some comedy. But you said that while I was gone, everyone was like, I guess they listened to the last episode and
they heard that and they said
they saw me in drag.
Right. Well, yeah, they saw the pictures and they were so impressed by that. And they came to me and they said,
you can see them on Instagram, by the way. If you follow me at Ethan is not funny, you can see me in drag.
They were so excited about that. They said, look at it. He's come out and it's got to be freeing and opening for him. And I said, I'm just so proud of him. I really am that he took a stand and there, he came out.
Yeah, but I'm not gay.
So he partially came out. Wherever you are, it's coming.
I took half a step out of the closet and I'm stepping back in now. No, it's so funny how people think, just because I wore a dress, that had something to do with me being gay.
Why would they think that?
I don't know.
Even understand that. Yeah.
Are you being facetious right now?
No.
A little bit. But, being gay and wearing a dress, those aren't the same things.
If you're a man,
yeah,
wearing a dress,
Scottish,
kilts,
No, but I mean, like,
I
think as a comedian, dressing up, I'm an actor and a comedian, so like dressing up as a woman is that's like nothing.
Well, and then that's that's so healthy the way you look at it.
But also I like it.
It was the makeup too.
No, I enjoy it. Like I feel sexy.
Does it feel good on? Is that the?
It feels good. Yeah. But also once again, it doesn't mean I don't like women.
Are you sure? Have you been fighting this for a long time?
See the ignorance I have to put up with.
We're proud of you. Whatever you are. Whatever bathroom you want to use, it's okay with us.
Yeah, bathroom issue.
Yeah,
non-issue is what I would say. But yeah, I'm not gay. I'm not gay.
You deny it so much.
Right, it's like
amazing. Yeah,
thinks the lady doth protest too much. Yeah. Well, we had Anna on last week, Anna Lepeley, who is gay.
She is, yes.
She's very gay, and my partner,
right?
On my life partner. No, she's my comedy partner, and we're going on the Butch and Femme comedy tour.
I love that, the Butch and Femme comedy tour.
I guess we're trying to challenge expectations there, so we're willing to.
And who is which?
Oh, well, apparently I'm femme and she's Butch.
Okay.
Well, that's why I wore the dress, because
right.
we were playing up that idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I am an effeminate heterosexual,
Well, there were a lot of men here that I know that are homosexual that were very attracted to that idea. They were like, Ethan in a dress, that's just...
I know.
I tried to settle him down, say, settle down.
I've always got hit on by gay guys
really?
A lot, all my life, yeah. And I guess I've just turned that up a little bit more. But I was talking about it with Anna, and she said, like she has all this big lesbian following. She's lesbian, I guess, and she's attractive, and she talks a little bit about that in her comedy. And not to reduce her to her, sexual orientation or anything. She's funny and she's an interesting person. She's a PhD. She's got all these things to offer. But one of the things is that she's a lesbian. She has this following. But she's told me, she said, "Gay men love you. That's really good for us." And it's true. It's like I said, yeah, because gay men have all the money.
Well,
that's true.
Why is it good for us?
Because
not us, but you
for Anna and I, because we're selling a product. Our comedy duo.
Right.
So if she gets the lesbians and I get the gays, that's people. That's some number higher than zero. I think that's really what we're talking about. It's just we have something, we have some niche. That's the idea. You got to have a niche.
So if you are attracted or you attract gay men. Is that something you've always fought with, battled with?
It's not like it's a battle.
Oh, okay.
You know, I lost the battle on the first day. I mean, I always get hit on by gay guys.
Okay, and that's because I found lately that there's a.
It's flattering, you know.
Well, I think so. I do think so.
I mean, also women, but probably more gay guys than women. And gay guys are more forward usually. Than women in general. They
know what they're going after.
Yeah, and it's like they sort of, what do I have to lose? You know,
right.
Was he going to say no? Okay, well, then I'm back where I was and I started. Yeah. So I'm just thank you, no thank you, but very flattering.
I was asking a friend of mine who has a partner, and he and his partner, they have an agreement that when he goes out of town, if he wants to have a relationship with somebody else, he could do that. And what I was trying to struggle with him is like it.
I like this.
Exclusive.
Maybe you could talk to some of my girlfriends.
Well, being exclusive was like an important thing to a relationship or not? And
that's a good question. That's actually a very good question. I think. Well, a lot of people these days will. By the way, you're hearing me open up this box of cookies right now in the background.
Those are still warm, or they were warm.
I'm super excited about this cookie you offered me, so I'm going to eat it during the podcast, and then I'll review it. Where are these cookies from?
Somebody brought those for us. I can't remember.
Okay, well then they don't get a plug.
Yeah,
but I get a cookie. Yeah. That's delicious. So anyway, speaking of polyamory, I love many different kinds of cookies.
And you can send them too.
Right. Yeah, if you want to send me some cookies, or if you want to flirt with me, if you're gay, you can follow me on Instagram at Ethan is not funny, or you can write our podcast at JesusChristThat'sFunny@gmail.com.
What would happen if suddenly you got a whole big following of men?
That would be fantastic. I mean,
really?
Yeah, if you're an entertainer and you can get any following, then you're great. Like, someone was telling me, so like entertainers like Madonna,
right,
or Rihanna, or like Lady Gaga, these kind of diva level entertainers, they get the teenage girl fan base,
right,
and that lasts them for the first 10-15 years of their career. Then after when they get into like their 20th and 30th years of their careers, then they have the gay male fan base, and that lasts them the rest of their life. Yes.
Huh.
So
I never heard that.
Yeah. So like Madonna would be an example. Barbra Streisand. All these older female entertainers who were like sort of pop stars when they were younger. They now have this gigantic gay male following, and that they just keep buying their stuff and attending their concerts, and they'll be set for the rest of their life. So
if you could get that,
if I could have like the Madonna level of a gay following, then I'm done. I don't have to.
Ethan.
I can just do comedy and podcasting the rest of my life. I never have to do any other non-artistic venture. So,
I love it. That's great.
That's what I'm going for. So thank you to my gay following, and there'll be many more of you soon, I hope. Invite your friends. I will wear a dress. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
That's just you really have to get those pictures out immediately, because it wasn't just a dress; it was like a gown.
It was just a little black number, just something I picked up at the out of the closet thrift store in Fort Lauderdale, or Wilton Manors, actually.
Did you go in there and try it on? Yeah,
I went in there and tried it on. Anna with Anna.
No one said a thing.
No,
they just were like, "That's fine."
I was in the dressing room and I was like, Anna, and I'm like kind of leaning out. How does it look? Yeah.
Well, see, that's where Snapchat would have been good.
We should have. You're right. Yeah. We should have had that. That would have been
really good. So, do you need to be, when you have a relationship, is the relationship something that you, that it's exclusive?
Yeah, let's talk about this. I'm going to talk about this polyamory idea, because it's rampant. There's all these all these kids with the polyamory ideas, and I have a friend who's into it. When I went to college at New College of Florida in Sarasota, there was a big polyamory group. I know now if you go online, like on Meetup, and on these online websites, you can find all these polyamorous groups and things like that. And basically, if you don't know what that is, it's like, you have a relationship with more than one person at the same time.
Right.
You know, like, so it's like these people in open relationships, you know, like, so I had a friend who was involved in this, and he was one of 3 boyfriends that this girl had. And he could theoretically have as many girlfriends as he wanted, but he only had the one. So I guess sometimes it seems to work out better for women.
Yeah.
In some ways, because it's very easy for them to get another guy attached to them.
Why would that be?
Because guys are eager to have sex, I guess. You know, like, you know, So
if you're a women are more selective, and
if you're a type of woman, if a certain type of woman who's like sort of, you know, maybe more about just the sex and less about the connections, then you can have as many as you want.
Right.
Whereas a guy who's less about the connection and more about just the sex, you may struggle to have as many women who follow that. You know, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know. You have to. I think in order for the polyamory thing to really work out long term, I think you have to be a certain type of person. I think maybe like a sex addict. That would be a good one. Yeah. I think I just think it's really tough to do it for most people. I couldn't do it.
Well, if you had like
I can't. You know, I want a connection with one person. Yeah. One at a time, at least. You know? Yeah.
So if you had a connection with somebody you really, really cared about, you're wanting to develop more than, because the sex will get old sometime, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I take that as read, but I mean, it's. Well, yeah. I mean, you have to kind of. I don't know if that. You know what? I haven't always experienced that.
Okay. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes, I've been in like a long-term relationship where it got old, but I've also been in a long-term relationship where it didn't get old.
Right.
But both those relationships were about 5 years.
So you have to work on it constantly.
I think so. Yeah, I think you keep it
fresh and alive.
And I think there are different, you know, ways of connecting with someone. Right. You know, the second relationship. One of the things was that she kept going out of town. We were talking about going out of town. Yeah. She left town several times during the relationship, and like had to we lived together in Vietnam, and she had to go back to California a few times to do schooling. Yeah. So she'd leave for 3 or 4 months at a time, and then, you know, every year or so. So I would be like, that kind of kept it fresh, because I was basically celibate for 3 or 4 months.
Really?
That's and then she'd come back,
and it was all,
and then it was like on again for, you know, 8 or 9 months, and then she'd leave again. You know, so it kind of stayed fresh.
So there
was
it
was like absence makes the heart grow fonder, or the genital region maybe. So yeah, I don't know, that kept it fresh.
I don't know. You know, I'm getting more and more to the idea that there's that if we treat something, if you treat it.
I'm gonna eat this cookie while you think.
Yeah,
about your point.
It's okay. I went to the Louvre. Okay, in Paris. Mm-hmm. Okay, and on the front cover of the brochure, it has a picture of, you know, what is it? One of the Mona Lisa. Okay, and everybody that you see come in there, and they're looking at this picture, and they're kind of like wandering through the museum to find it, and they find out that when they get there, it's like about 6 by 6. I mean, so it's a small thing.
It's and behind like all this glass and stuff too. I've seen it.
It's got glass, and there's 2 guards standing next to it, and it's like, and it somehow, you know, we went from there and then went to this botanical garden, and I saw this gardener, and she was cutting the things back, and things are growing, and I keep thinking, you know, you treat life as 2 different ones. Either one is that you try to protect it and keep it exactly the same, and you actually become guards. You know, this is what our life's going to be. Or you treat it more like something that's growing and moving, and you know, you need to fertilize it, and you need to, you know, take care of it, and sometimes, you know, and the more you treat life that way, I think the healthier it is.
I think you're right about that. I don't think you can. I think the more you try to hold on to something, and force it to be a certain way.
Yeah, it's only going to be this way. This is it.
Yeah, no, that's a recipe for unhappiness, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that's what happens with a lot of people, is they get kind of stuck in, you know, like one variation, and it's like, we're going to go down this path, and that's going to be our path for the rest of our life. I
mean, this is some stuff I've had to learn in recovery too. What? You know, I mean, like if you want to, I mean, I definitely approach relationships different than I used to. You know. Like one thing is I always looked at a relationship as an exchange, like a long-term relationship like that. You know, so it's like, okay, so I have a girlfriend. We're in this committed relationship. Right. So I'm giving up, the ability to, go out and meet new girls and have sex with whoever I want to.
Right.
But I'm getting in return, this girl who's going to be with me, she's going to be loyal. We're going to have this domestic situation, which I like. And, and I'll sort of have a guarantee of sex with her. I mean, obviously obviously subject to her approval, but there's sort of an expected back and forth there. And I'm, I pick someone who's compatible in terms of like our level of desire and stuff like that, of course. So it's like, okay, I gave this up and I got this in return.
Right.
And I think that ultimately that's a really unhealthy way to look at it, because like what happens to me, especially as an addict, especially when I was out there doing that, it was like more like, oh, okay, so this is a pretty good deal, but I wonder if I could get a better deal. You start thinking in your head, like, how could I get more pleasure for less pain? How could I maximize? Because that's, as a drug addict, you're always like, I want to maximize my pleasure, right?
Right, with the least amount of work.
Least amount of work, most amount of pleasure. That's like what life is all about. Hedonism, basically, is what I was always after. And now I think that's ultimately it was very unsatisfying. Like it doesn't work. I mean, because even if both people look at it that way and they think that they're getting something out of it, and I think that was true. Right. I wasn't like a terrible person in these relationships. I was, they were flawed, they were pathological, but it wasn't like all one-sided or exploitative or anything like that. Like, like she was getting whichever girl we're talking about here in this situation, she had a similar deal worked out in her head. Right. Like she was getting, security from me in exchange for a certain amount of freedom and all that stuff. So, but I think that ultimately it was a bad way of looking at it, because it was always dissatisfying. And I think now, because I was always looking for a better deal or whatever, and because it's just not a good way of looking at a relationship. It's not very holistic. Right. It's you're reducing it down to these like little things. Oh, am I getting this? Am I getting this much back? Yeah. And I think now I try to look at relationships as, what can I add to the relationship? Right. Instead of what can I get for this much of effort, how much effort can I put in to this thing that we're both creating, which is the relationship? Yeah. And when we put that, and can I just trust? Can I just have faith that overall it's the right thing to do? Right. And that we're both getting something out of it. And then, of course, if there's signs that we're not, and that I'm not happy and she's not happy, then I would have to say, well, let's reevaluate things. If it seems like that's coming, those thoughts are coming up a lot. But if but rather than looking at it that way from the beginning, like I need to evaluate, am I really getting a good deal here? Instead, I trust this person. We have a good connection. Right. Let's both try this and put something into this relationship and just see where it goes and let it evolve. Right. And that's, I think that organic, that organic conversation is good, because it's like, you develop roots, and if you don't have deep roots, if you haven't spent the time to develop, first storm comes along, everything's a mess, everything's torn up, everything, I run into people all the time that say, well, we had our first argument and we decided to get, split up, they didn't have much built up. They hadn't spent much time building up a relationship, and letting it grow. And there wasn't much fruit when it came really down to it. That cookie looked really good. You put that whole thing in your mouth. It was so good. Bite, man. That was amazing. That was good. No, continue what you're saying. No, I want to hear you eat on the air. That's it. I used to have a podcast called The Game of Love. And there was a running joke because I would always eat like pie, and I would eat like
Peaks.
I would eat key lime pie and pumpkin pie and like whatever pie was appropriate to the season. I would eat, because we had these seasonal episodes like Christmas and Thanksgiving, so I would eat pie into the microphone. It became a running joke. Well, maybe we can have a cookie bit that we do every week.
Well, this was somebody was promoting their business and they dropped these off, and I was in the other room when they did, and they said, we made these today. They're still warm. We want you to have them.
They're really good.
Yeah, and I'll figure out who it was, because they were very nice about that.
Well, we'll have to promote them if they sell them. Did they?
They started a new business or something. They're coming by to say hello.
There's no branding on this box of cookies.
None at all.
They're really failing at their business. They could have been had a big promotion right now.
They could have. People would be running into their store saying, I want one of these cookies now, please.
Well, what I'd like to say is that this cookie's delicious, and it's fantastic. I would get it every day.
Would you drink milk with that?
I would totally drink milk with it.
Yeah.
But you can't have any if you're listening because we don't know who makes them.
That's right.
So enjoy that. Enjoy that sense of unfulfillment.
So tell me, you went to
Oh wait, do we have some information about the cookie there?
Yeah.
All right, Pastor, let's give a plug. What does it say?
B21.
That's it?
I think that's the company's name. Yeah, it's a new hamburger place called B21.
B21.
B21. B as in the letter, 21 as in the numerals.
Bingo.
That's right. And they have incredible cookies, and I heard them talk about their hamburgers. So yeah, there's like all these hamburger places, coming up all over the place now.
I love hamburgers.
BurgerFi and all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of hamburgers. I ate some burgers out in L.A. I went to In-N-Out.
In-N-Out. Yeah.
That's like a very California thing to do is to go to the In-N-Out burger.
When I was in Cal, we were always having fish tacos because that was like the cool thing to have.
They can get good stuff there too.
Tacos, yeah. So
Florida.
who did you meet in California?
California, I did a lot of comedy. I actually went out to San Francisco to do some kind of recovery stuff. I saw my ex out there. Speaking of relationships,
really,
and I hadn't seen her in years. And
how did that go?
I had still some ninth step stuff to do with her in recovery, which is if you're listening, ninth step in recovery is the one where you try to make amends to your past relationships. So
how did that work?
It was good. We kind of cleared the air, and you don't really apologize. That's a misconception. A lot of people think with the ninth step that you're supposed to apologize.
What do you do?
Well, you look to you kind of take responsibility for your actions of the past, and you try to explain where you were coming from. So the person, it's not like, hey, look at all these things I did. So what? No, it's like, here's the things I did. Here's kind of where I was coming from. It's not an excuse, but just so you have some context.
How do you make sure it's not an excuse? Because that sounds like,
Well, you don't make any excuses.
Okay.
But you explain where you were coming from,
So you would say I slept around on you because I was an idiot. And
well, that wasn't part of my amends.
Okay,
but
sorry. Yeah.
but no, you would. So for example, I was deceived. I deceived you about my alcohol use or something like that, and it was because I was afraid of you finding out, and because I wanted to keep doing what I was doing selfishly, but also I was afraid, and I also was in some way I was trying to protect you, even though that was misguided. You explain your motivations as best as you've been able to sort them out.
Were you really trying to protect her, or that was just like a nice way of?
I'm just giving an example. This isn't necessarily.
Well, no, yeah. Okay.
I think your motivations for when you're doing when you're addicted to alcohol or something like that, then your motivations are always somewhat complex.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you always have an ambivalent feeling about the substance. It's like you want to keep doing it, but you also hate doing it. And you're hurting the people around you.
Right.
And you don't want to, and yet you can't see any other way to behave because you feel like almost enslaved. Actually, not almost. You feel enslaved to the addiction, to the substance.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's So you explain where you were, and then you say basically, here's what I've thought of to try to make this up to you. Here's what I'd like to do to try to make it up to you, and then you can say, is there anything else that you feel hurt by that I didn't mention? And is there anything else I can do that you can think of to try to make it up to you? And then and then depending on the situation, you also might ask for forgiveness. So those are kind of the basic elements of it. You're trying to create a space where you can repair the relationship, and it's particularly important if it's someone with whom you have an ongoing relationship, right? So like if your parents or something like that, or your kids or friends that you still see.
So you do your inventory, and then you present it to the person and say, you know, I did this to you and I did this to you, and I hope you can forgive me. And I mean, that's got to be really cleansing. I mean, that has to be.
You don't have to ask for forgiveness, by the way. I think that's almost like I actually had a discussion with my sponsor about that, you know, because he mentioned
they may not give it to you.
Well, I think that the forgiveness part, I think, is we talked about this before. It's like one of the ways I think that the 12-step is different from Christianity.
Right.
I think the forgiveness part actually isn't so important. The only thing that I think, the only reason I had it on there and that I actually did it in this case was I think that actually asking for forgiveness is a humbling experience.
Yeah.
That's almost like but there are other ways to get to that humbling experience, I think.
But, you know, also that I think that asking for forgiveness, why I think that would be such a strong thing, is that it's allowing her to let go of it.
Yes, that's right.
You know, and I think that's an important thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and so, you know, with this person who I've, you know, spent years of my life with, and we had this intense relationship and all this stuff. I mean, and we still have a lot of love for each other, you know, and I think without having this, you know, whatever, we still have a relationship. Right. You know, we're very close. We talk a lot on the phone, things like that. And, you know, it's not a romantic relationship, but we're close. And I think in order to continue to have that ongoing relationship, you have to kind of go through this and clear the air. And so I like I said, I hadn't seen her in years, but I wanted to do this one in person. So I went out there to California and did that one. And
well, that's a lot of money you spent going out there. I mean, that had to have been, did she know you were coming?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wanted to see her, you know, my sister just had a baby. I wanted to do some comedy stuff. So I had like multiple 3 or 4 reasons to go to California. It wasn't, but that was the one that was like kind of spiritually, that was like the overall motivation for the trip.
Well, that's cool. That's really neat.
So yeah, that was good.
Did you feel better after the whole thing? Did you?
I did. I felt like you know, it was like I did something that I needed to do, and I felt like, you know, this kind of long-standing, you know, she and I, as close as we are still, she's shared with me over the last, you know, year or two that she has these sort of like things in our past, in our relationship, that she has a hard time kind of figuring out in terms of my motivations and getting over them and things like that.
So it's probably really helpful for her.
And so I think she said it was. It actually. She said, "Oh, I went to she was like, it was really helpful." And then the next day she said, "I went to an extra session with my therapist this week." It's like, okay. So I think it brought up a lot of emotions for her too. But I think overall hopefully it was good.
That's what I love about California, is the idea that people are so open about therapists, you know, that they go to them. It's so crazy because down here,
New York too, yeah.
Yeah. Down here you talk about, you know, and there are people like, you go to a therapist, you know.
Yeah, well Florida's backward, you know. I'm a Floridian, and I can say that we are just not as advanced as you know, the rest of a lot of the U.S. I mean, as far as like things like
Geno chain.
I mean, like so California has just been a civilization for 50 or 60 years longer than us probably, and the same in New York, even longer than that. So yeah, I mean, it's like people talk about therapy and it's no big deal there. And like I said, I'm straight in you know, when I lived in California, no one ever called me gay. You know, and here it's like, oh, you wore a dress for a comedy venture, you must be gay, and like that's the only possibility is that I'm gay. What? And there's only gay and straight, by the way.
Yeah, there's nothing else. It's just
that's why this transgender thing in the bathrooms, people just can't even process it. They're just like, oh, what? Head explodes, you know. I'm like, just like relax, everyone. Like it's these categories, these labels.
Yeah, you hear people talk about that in North Carolina, and they get so perplexed in their conversation. They don't even know what to do. They just start ranting words.
It is funny. People are like, God damn it! I finally accepted the gayness. I finally accepted that there could be a man who could love another man. Wait, what do you mean? Is a woman used to be a man? A man used to be a woman? I can't understand. You know, it's like just
but they're not gay now. Oh,
right,
boom.
Yeah. No, it just head explodes. So I don't know. It's I would think that Florida is a little more cosmopolitan. You know, we're still part of the South, but we've also got that New York connection, and we've got we've got the Caribbean. Right. Although maybe that actually takes us in the other direction a little bit.
Well, most of the Caribbean churches that I know of are very, they're not
pro-gay.
accepting.
No.
Yeah, they're not accepting.
Do you have are you in communion with some Caribbean churches here?
Yeah, we have Caribbean and Spanish churches and things like
Presbyterian.
that. Yeah, it's Presbyterian churches. That mainly, they're the people that they minister to are from those different places, and what ends up happening is you start talking to them, and there's just some really hard, fast lines drawn. But they're older people too. They're in their 50s and 60s years old, and they just boom, it's not right, it's not correct. The Bible says it isn't, and therefore I think we need to not allow them in.
I want to know.
It's terrible. It's horrible.
We have to end this podcast. We're at half an hour, but I want to talk about that. We're gonna. It's like we have every episode now is about being gay, I guess. But
no, let's talk about that next podcast.
But in the next episode, what I really want to know is I want to get that answer to the question that Anna asked. So we'll tease it. The question Anna asked is, "What does God hate gays?" And you said no.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, why do people think that God hates gays?" And I think it's part of what you just said in terms of like people say, "Oh, well, it's Scripture." So I want to know in the next podcast.
Okay, we'll do it next podcast.
We're going to talk about Christianity and homosexuality.
You got it.
And why there's this image that God doesn't like the gays.
Good question. Good lead in.
Okay.
So what are you doing this week?
This weekend, every week, you can see me at Havana Hideout in downtown Lake Worth at 8 p.m. for Havana Ha-Has, the showcase comedy show I do every week with Eric Rosenblum.
Not every week. I was there Memorial Day weekend.
You were there?
I went down to see it. It was the first week. It's Monday off.
Wow. Well, Memorial Day they had it was a holiday and they didn't have the show.
Yeah. So I was there. So it's not every.
Okay. This is the only time
almost every Monday.
This is the only time we've ever not had it. You should have contacted me.
I thought this will be great. I'm going to surprise him, man. Wow. This will be so good. No.
And, stay up to date on my Facebook page, and you can see it. So. If you want to know the latest details about that event and the other events I'm involved in. Oh, another one that's coming up is I want to promote this. It's Second Sundays, sleazy, sexy Second Sundays at Octopus Garden in Hollywood, Florida. That is Sunday, June 12th.
Really?
We're having an episode come out. Yeah. I'm really excited about it. So check out that show. We're gonna have it's a musical comedy variety show, hosted by yours truly. 8 p.m. Octopus Garden.
Sunday, I can do
Hollywood.
Sundays. Yeah.
Can you Sunday night?
Sunday nights.
What about Sunday night church service?
You know what? I did Art Walk the other day in Fort Lauderdale. I am so into. I want to start church there.
Wait, so you don't have to go to church on Sunday night?
No.
You're a pastor and you go to church less than I did when I was a kid. This is weird. My parents, I hate my parents so much. I can't believe they made me go to church Sunday night.
Oh, you bought into that whole thing.
I didn't buy into it. I was forced. I was a child. What am I going to say no?
Okay. Probably so, yeah.
Eventually I did. I was a teenager when I started saying no.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so the pastor is just, he leaves his flock unattended on Sunday nights.
Sunday nights, yeah.
So if you're looking to, if the devil's looking to come in and steal a few sheep, come in Sunday night. Sunday morning, it's all locked down, but Sunday night you can have your way with them.
6 days a week we got them covered.
I feel like we're giving the alarm code to hell right now. This is like terrifying.
Not Sunday night.
All right. Well, you can find out about what I'll be doing on Sunday nights and Monday nights and every other night on my Instagram page or my Twitter. Or even on Snapchat. All three of those are at Ethan is not funny, so check those out.
And Ethan is funny.
It's ironic. It's ironic. Yeah. And Pastor, what about you? Where can people get the Sanctuary Church?
Catch us at the Sanctuary Church, ftl.org, which is our website. In fact, we're just getting ready to update it, and probably by next month we will have all of our sermons and videos and things on there too. So it should be pretty cool.
Great. No need to come in.
No, you got to
stay
come in
home
because it's like you get in touch with other people. You get to know other people that want to do something, change the world.
Sit on your butt, eat cookies.
Well, no, that's what you're doing.
And just take in the Spirit just from home. That's what you'll get. All right, so check out the website there.
Yeah.
Check out our podcast.
Yeah,
this
Jesus
podcast
Christ.
you're listening to, Jesus Christ, That's Funny. look us up on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Write a review, give us a rating. We really need that. So, of course, we don't want any money from you. I mean, it would be nice. But we haven't even set that up yet. All we're asking is that you tell a friend and you give us a rating on iTunes.
That's right.
Good. Help us out.
You got it.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.